to the Life Reboot by Linda Krause Barnett. I am the proud author of Reboot Your Life, Bring Back Your Spark, and I am also the leader here in this group. And I am so excited for the introduction of this guest. Her name is Niki Spears, and she is going to light up the screen. You guys are not going to be able to take your eyes off of her and her information. So Niki, tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do. And you guys listen to every word because you're going to get so much value from this interview.
Well, Linda, first of all, thank you so much for having me. I'm an educator just like you. I've been in education for over 20 years, and I got my start as an educator as a Head Start teacher, believe it or not. My young girls, and they're 28 now, but when they were younger, they entered the Head Start program. I was going through a divorce. They entered the program. And I remember going in the classroom and I was watching my little babies recite the alphabet, say the pledge, and do all these fascinating things. And like, how did they do that? How did they learn to do that? And I was just so drawn into education at that point. I felt like this is where I need to be. This is where I want to be. And since that time, I've been pursuing, I've been pursuing jobs in education. So I became a Head Start teacher shortly after that. I went back and got my degree and did other things in Head Start, like behavior specialist and family service coordinator, something like that. I can't remember the title.
Yeah.
But then got into public schools and was a kindergarten teacher.
Oh.
And went on to become a curriculum coordinator, assistant principal, and eventually principal. So I've done so many things in education.
Yes, you have.
And I thought, following my husband, because my husband has traveled so much with his career, and every time he left, it would allow me to do something different in education. So I saw that really as a great opportunity for me to just learn different roles in education.
Oh,
so I left my job as a school principal about 4 years ago. And the reason why I left my job was I was using some concepts in my school. I was just like you, Linda. You talked about teaching. I forgot how you said this, but I really believed in teaching the human spirit or inspiring people to do the work that they do rather than the content. That was like secondary to me, even as a principal. I knew that my teachers needed to feel motivated and inspired. So we had adopted principles in my school, which dramatically changed the culture. I was contacted by the company of the book that I was using at the time, and they said, you cannot use these concepts unless you buy into our program. I was devastated because we had been using these concepts
successfully, right?
For 2 years. And I mean, the teachers, it was, our building was like outfitted in this stuff. We had, bulletin boards, flyers, we had everything on the walls.
It had become like a culture of the school.
It had been, our kids were using the language, everything. And they were telling me we couldn't do it. So I went as far as to contact my district lawyers, and we were going back and forth, and they said, Niki, if they're telling you can't do it, you can't do it, right? So Linda, I'm sitting in my car on a Sunday evening, and as the principal of this school, you really feel the weight and you feel responsible, especially when your passion, like mine, was culture. Mm-hmm. So when I'm sitting in my car on that Sunday evening, I'm scrolling through my phone on LinkedIn, just aimlessly. I don't even know what I was doing, just wasting time, kind of thinking. My thumb happened to land on John Gordon's face, his profile pic. John Gordon is the author of The Energy Bus, and I had read his book like a year prior to this moment. And I thought to myself at that time, I said, you know what? You don't have to use the concepts from this book. It could be anything. You could even make your own.
As long as it's aligned with your values.
Exactly, because it's not about those concepts. But it's really about aligning your values, your goals, your beliefs. And that's what we have done in our school. And so it's just like a light bulb moment, like, I could use anything.
I could use anything as long as I'm using what I
As
believe
long as
in. Yes.
exactly. So I remember reaching out. I heard this voice say to me, I want you to continue to take risks.
Oh,
And when I heard that voice,
I love moments like that.
Linda, if when I say that to people, they're like, well, how did you know? I knew exactly what it meant. So I sent Mr. Gordon a quick message, and I said something like, hi, I'm an elementary school principal, would love to build curriculum around your book, The Energy Bus, something like that. It was so quick, it was so simple, and I felt so crazy. I didn't even tell anybody. I didn't tell my husband because he's like, are you crazy? Why did you do that? So the very next morning, I went back to my LinkedIn page, and this is like 7:30, 8 o'clock in the morning. I had a message from Mr. Gordon.
Of course.
And it said something like,
of course.
thank you. He said, thank you so much for caring. Send me a one pager of your idea. Here's my cell phone number. Here's
my.
We've been waiting on the right fit. I was like, are you kidding me, God? Are you kidding me? So anyway, long story short, I did better than writing that one pager. I put together a portfolio of what had happened in my school. I flew down to Florida to meet with him. I went over everything that we had done in my school, how it had transformed the culture, what I planned to do with his book. And he looked at me and he said, Niki, you can do this. However, I can't pay you. And I'm like, are you kidding me? I thought I was going to be a millionaire. Are you kidding me right now?
I thought this was it.
I go home and I say to my husband, I tell him about this experience. And he said, I think you should do it. He said, because you can always go back into education.
Right.
But you may never get this opportunity again.
Woo!
My job with no promise of pay. And I jumped into creating now what we refer to as the Energy Bus for Schools Leadership Journey. And I traveled, and let me tell you, Linda, I had never talked in front of large crowds before, and I never saw myself doing that ever.
Which is crazy to me because you're so charismatic. You're just like it's like we learn about ourselves and we see things in ourselves that other people have already been seeing, you know?
I know. Nobody was surprised. You're right.
Exactly.
You know, when I do things and people are like, Niki, we already knew that about you. I'm like, y'all are surprised. I'm surprised.
Exactly.
So here I am.
I want to take one moment, and I don't want to interrupt your flow.
Oh, go ahead.
But I want for people who are listening, because this, you know, it's like people who study millionaires, I study women and their path. That's my mission. And I want to tell you what I love so much, and I want everybody listening who's not feeling like their spark is alive and their passion is alive. I want to reiterate what you said, Niki, because you said, I heard a voice and I listened to it and I did something that sounded crazy, that didn't make any sense, but I did it anyways because the voice, I trusted that voice. And now you're about to tell us how that journey opened up and evolved. And I want you to know, if you're listening and you hear that voice, it is a gift to you. It is made for you. It's not an accident that it falls into your mind and in your heart and on your ears. And it needs to be trusted and believed in, because I know doing scary things and hard things are scary and hard, but we can do scary things. We can do hard things. And when we follow that, it's such a whisper. Sometimes it's so easy to ignore, but if you trust that the universe is going to have your back, then life takes on a whole new, you're on a whole new path. So I want you to go back to your journey, but I just wanted to highlight that you said that, and it was so beautiful and so important. And I think that it could bring such inspiration to someone watching.
And we all, I'm telling you, I believe that that voice is within all of us.
Yes.
We just have to trust, like you said, trust it and follow. And I've been that kind of person where I will hear something and I do it. And I do it right away, Linda, because I've learned that if you allow whatever it is for you to do to slip away, even for a few moments, you're gonna talk yourself out of it.
You have like 1 second between hearing that voice and a limiting
And
belief coming
responding,
in and saying you can't.
yeah. So
Yes.
you have to take action. But when
Okay.
he responded and he said, "We've been waiting on the right fit," I knew
Yeah.
that was a spiritual moment for me, because
Uh,
culture wasn't something that started when I became a principal or when I became a teacher. It happened when I was a young girl in my home, because I tell people all the time, culture is not something that happens in your building. It happens in your homes when we're growing up. We all have our own personal culture.
yeah.
And I longed as a little girl, I struggled with negative thinking and with our culture, our home culture. And I always saw myself as I was the person to fix that, is how do I do that? And I learned that it wasn't about fixing anything about my family. It was about fixing myself.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I learned how to do that, it's like everything started to open up for me.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, everything started to open up. But after talking to Mr. Gordon, I left my job in July of 2016. So right now, guys, I am celebrating 4 years.
Yay! We're gonna celebrate with you, Nikki. That's
Yeah,
fantastic. Happy anniversary.
thank you. It has been amazing. And now I'm venturing out doing some other things. I am really concentrating on my motivational talks, because I get so much positive feedback on that. And then I just written a book, a nonfiction book called Finding the Beauty Underneath the Struggle, Creating Your BUS
Okay.
story.
And
And
tell me a little bit about that book. What was your inspiration and tell me a little bit about the
uh,
process.
so I remember going into the bookstore,
Hmm.
and when I was in the airport and I was looking for something to feed my spirit. I needed something. I was going, I can't remember, I was going through something personal. And I need something to
We
read.
may have been separated at birth. I'm just saying.
Okay. I
There's a soul connection here that I just don't know.
I'm telling you, it's funny because I didn't read as much as I when I was younger, but as I've grown older, it's like that's my fuel. I need
Yeah.
something. I don't care if it's a quote or whatever.
Yes.
There was a book there titled "The Gift of Struggle," and that struggle word just spoke to me, and I wanted it. But in the book, the author, and I forgot his name now, just slipped my mind. I'm trying to see if I have the book. But in the book, he talks about this experience on a bus and how it changed his life. And I thought, we all have a bus story.
Oh,
We all have a bus story. And it's just finding the opportunity in every challenge. So in the book, I talk about how do we do that? How do you embrace life in struggle in a different way? Because when you hear the word struggle, most of us automatically think it's a negative term,
yep.
right?
Shut down.
But,
Yep.
but it's not. Struggle is a verb, and struggle is an action word. So it means that even though we may be going through things, which we will in our lifetime, that we're still moving. We're still moving forward. So I break down what that means, how to look at life in a different way. And I interview people just like you and I who have went through some tough times. I interviewed one lady who she just lost her son. I think she just celebrated, not celebrated, but
Yep.
I shouldn't say celebrate, but
It's
she lost
just
her son
yeah.
last year. And I think this month is 1 year, the 1 year anniversary of him. She lost him to gun violence. He was only 19, he was in college. But her story it's just so uplifting, because she talks about how she goes back to work
Mm.
like a week after his funeral, because she
Oh.
said everything that she instilled in him, she wanted she had to live it herself now.
Yeah.
The things that she was saying to him, she was now saying to herself. Her story is just so
Yeah.
amazing.
It's that do as I do, not as I say.
Right,
Yes.
exactly. Those are the things that carry her through. And she said, when they tell you that, you know, God will give you this extra strength and he'll pull you through, she said, it's actually true. She said, it's really true. She said she has her tough times, but she's getting through it. And I'm just so inspired by
Of
people like
course.
hers who, you know, we all have that struggle. We have that thing. And if you think about a good movie or a good
Hmm.
book we read, it's that part of the book that draws us in. And then we want to see, how does the main character respond, you know, to this situation. And our lives
Absolutely.
are no different, right? Our
I
lives are no
called
different.
it, I was doing an interview a few weeks ago, and we were talking about that low, that moment where you hit rock bottom and you're like, what now? And I said it's called the painful pivot, because
Yeah,
that moment hurts, and that moment is like, oh, but it is that moment where you can no longer go straight. You have to go left or right. Without
yeah,
that wall in front of you, you would just keep going. And
yeah.
so now it's like a forced pivot. I have to turn. And when you turn, what you realize is, oh, this is beautiful. I
Yeah.
never knew about this lovely flowered lined road to get to where I needed to go.
There you go. That's
And
the beauty.
yeah,
That's the
and
beauty.
it's funny because we are so often resisting contrast. We always want to be happy. We always want to have money. We always want to have the positivity, and that's, but and so we resist the back of that. So here's the positive, and we are so resistant to the negative. But if there's one thing that this quarantine or time down has taught, is that this has been a time with very, well, there's been big contrast at the same time as almost no contrast. And
Right.
you realize that life is about balance, and when things are out of balance, you can't enjoy the wonderful unless you've known hard times,
There
and
you
you can't
go.
feel beautiful unless you felt not beautiful. And that contrast is so to be savored, because it's the gift of life, and the more we fight it, the less we see what it's here to offer us.
That's, oh, I should have interviewed you for the book. The next, sure. The next one for sure.
Yes.
What it's all about is
Yes.
taking this moment, because I see this when I talk to educators and I talk to principals and superintendents now, I'm saying there's beauty underneath this struggle.
Mm.
how how are you going to respond to this? How are you going to share your gifts and talents right now with the world? And I see people actually doing that. People are rising to the occasion. And
Yes.
that's what struggle does for us. You know, either we're going to fall and be victim, and I say to people, we're not victims. You know, we are victors, and we're going to
Uh,
come out of this even better than we were before.
we, you and I both, like both with Reboot Your Life, and definitely with, you know, underneath the struggle and the beauty of that. And I find that so many of us are peeling back the layers of that as grown-ups, because we are not taught that as children. I feel like schools could use programs based on your book. There could be a program based on the concepts of your book, because children struggle. Children are struggling right now.
Yeah.
And when they know that struggle, we're so quick to say, are you okay? Just be okay, be okay. And that's like in my book, that one of the chapters is, it's okay not to be okay. And
Yes.
to teach them at a young age, you're going to go through things that are uncomfortable, that cause you pain, but there is beauty on the other side. It's the rainbow after the storm. However many different analogies we have, a way to create an acceptance of pain and struggle as part of your beautiful journey that only leads to greatness, that is the only way to the summit,
Yeah.
is the
You know
climb.
what? And I think about when I was younger, I didn't realize that. You know, if I was faced with some challenge, it's almost like I thought the world was ending.
Yes.
You know, I didn't know, just like what you were saying. It's like struggle it's like a cloud or a wave in the ocean, or how people describe, it's going to eventually pass, you know? And you never, as young children, we don't realize that we feel like we're stuck in this moment. This is it. And and you're right. And that's part of what we talk about with Energy Bus, is that with the principles from the book, we use the principles to talk about this moment will not last, you know. And I use that when I talk to kids. I always tell them about all these boyfriends I had growing up and how I would be devastated and heartbroken. And now when I look back at it, I laugh.
Yeah,
and I never thought there would be a laugh after that, you know, but there is.
and it's like, this is a horrible analogy, so folks,
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I know that this is probably, I could probably find something better, but it's what's coming to me right now. But you know, if someone isn't a good swimmer and they may be in danger of drowning, they say, like, the more you fight back what's happening to you, the more you're carried under, and the more you kind of just
Yeah.
cease and be still, the greater chance you will float to where, you know, to safety.
Yeah.
And I think that we teach resistance more than flow. We teach, you know, it's hard work. You've got to do it. The only thing that's going to get you there is hard work. But what about ease? Like, why can't ease be a part of the conversation? And, you know, that was one of the disadvantages to teaching in a classroom, was having to, it was always such a struggle for me to give a bad grade to a child, and how do you do that in a way that maintains their spirit, you know?
Yeah.
Listen, this is just a one-time thing, and you can get better and you can grow. And I remember my bad grades way more than I remember my good ones, and I remember my bad relationships sometimes more often than I remember my good ones. And to try and teach these children, listen, this is nothing more than a learning moment, and what
Yeah.
feels like a negative part of your day is actually like a really, believe it or not, it's the upside, it's the positive.
Yeah.
It's just, we're not, it's so it feels unnatural because it's not the analogies we've been taught, you know.
Yeah.
And I really commend the work that you're doing with children, because you're with schools that are on the front lines to help change the culture of mindset, because the culture of mindset is what's going to create the next generation of human beings. And right now our schools don't have one that I'm a big fan of, at least not many
Yeah.
schools. My school did a really nice job, but we were small, and you know, it was a very special environment. I just know that that's not the deal everywhere.
Yeah.
So that is what I think your book is meant for grown-ups. It's meant for kids. I think there is not one human being where that beauty underneath the struggle cannot be relatable and applied and understood, because there is no human who has avoided struggle. That doesn't.
No, it doesn't happen, right? It's not
Yeah.
going to happen. So,
So what's next for you, Nikki? What has this quarantine time look like?
oh
And
my gosh. So I wrote that book during I finished it during quarantine, and then I started a children's series of books too.
okay,
I just had a grandbaby a year ago.
you had a grandbaby.
I had a
Are
grandbaby,
you
and her name is
sure?
Taylor. So the dog is in the background, the grandbaby's in the background crying. So if you guys hear all of that, that's my life right now.
And we love your life, so it's okay.
But they're Baylor books, and the first book is called The Hen Hug. So that one will be out before this one, The Beauty Underneath the Struggle, which I'll bring out on my birthday.
Okay.
The Beauty Underneath the Struggle is September 15th, my birthday. And
Okay.
Hand Hug is going to come out on August 21st.
Oh, okay. The hand
So,
hug. I
yeah.
love that title.
Yes. And so as a kindergarten teacher, let me tell you, because I'm writing about how kids can transform. You know, I share with you guys I struggled with negative thinking and I was stuck. I didn't know how to get out of it. I really didn't. As I grew older and I started to read, I started to learn how to move and move out of these moments where I thought would never end. But I kept those moments alive because I didn't have strategies to remove myself, or I didn't understand that my thoughts were not part of me.
Mm-hmm.
I always thought that whatever I was feeling, it was me. And I never thought to separate the emotion from the person. Never thought about that and how to do that. So in the book, The Hand Hug, Baylor, who is the main character, she's struggling with, some scary, worrisome thoughts. She's getting ready to start a new school. It's the first day. And I actually have these worry bubbles over
Mm-hmm.
her head so kids can actually see.
Yeah.
And I want the kids to take away from this is that my thoughts are not part of me unless I invite them in.
Oh.
They're always on the outside of us until we invite them in. And once we invite them in and we agree, then that's when the emotion, takes place or whatever. So, but anyway, Baylor
What?
goes to
That's
school.
so empowering.
Oh my gosh, girl. It's such a cute book. And I love the book because it's a lot about me, even though I use my granddaughter. It really says a lot about me and me growing up in my life and integrating my childhood with who I am presently and bringing it
Yes.
all together. So when she gets to school, her teacher notices that she's worried and she calls her up and she asks her to, lie her hands inside of hers. And she does. And she said, "Do you feel that?" That's something I used to do as a kindergarten teacher. I see a kid that's having a bad time and I'll say, "Put your hands here." And then I'll look at them and I'll say, "Do you feel that?" And they'll be like, yeah. And I want them to feel that it's love. I love
Yes.
you. I want you to feel that energy of love and I care about you. So Baylor experiences that with her teacher. And then the teacher says, "So would you like to take a hand hug home?" And she was like, "How can I take my teacher's hands home with me?" That's what she's thinking. She's not sure what this means. So her teacher shows her a journal where she draws a handprint and she asked Baylor to, for the rest of the day, she wants her to write down in her hand hug every good thing that happens to her.
Mm.
So now it changes the focus where we're so, usually we're focused on the negative. So
Yes.
we're teaching kids how to look at the positive. There's so many positive things that happen throughout the day, but it could be that one little thing that one negative thing that takes our attention and we spin our wheels and we can't get out of it. So Baylor goes through the whole day and she's writing down all these things that just bring her joy. So at the end of that day, she looks at that hand hug and it's just the pages. Now everything is outside of the handprint she had drawn. It was so many great things that happened.
Oh.
But when she gets on the bus the next day, she notices a little girl who had the same look as she had the day before. She sits beside her and she says to her to put her hands in hers. And so it goes on and on.
Ah, it's gonna make me cry.
It's so cute.
Well, Nikki Spears, the hand hug might be your next book, but I can promise you it's also your next worldwide movement because that's not
Yay!
just a
I
book,
love
that's a
it.
movement.
I love it. I love it because I can see all of us doing a hand
I,
hug.
what what I love about that is in this, it's so relevant right now where you can't touch people
Yeah.
to give them this spiritual hand hug,
Yeah.
like you
Yeah.
can't physically touch their hand, but to like give your energetic love like that, and that exchange, where that's a 5-year-old can understand that. They can't
Yeah.
understand don't touch, don't touch, don't touch.
Right.
Because all they want to
But
do
give them
is
something they can do, right? And so
yes.
now we can trace our handprints and
How
we can
can we
start.
share that love that we feel that is being blocked?
Right, right. So,
Woo!
so that's what I've been doing during quarantine. I have been writing,
Busy.
writing. Yeah, and just do it. Just do it
Just do
now.
it.
And so that's what I've done. So I'm excited about these books. It's what keeps me going. And then the other, I'm going to say probably a couple of months ago, I'm lying in bed. It's 3 o'clock in the morning. And that voice speaks to me again. And that voice is God for me. Your
Yes,
voice can be whatever you want it to be, but
that's
my
exactly right.
and he said to my second book, my second kids book title, and I got up and I wrote it that night. Kindness is contagious too,
Mm.
just like the virus, okay? Oh my God. I was like, I got chills and I still get chills when I think about it. I got up and I wrote it out. I wrote it out. And I'm just like, God, you're amazing.
And when we're open to that voice and when we are receptive to, this is the thing. It's like when I was empty and when I was quiet, it's because all I did was hear that voice and go, don't have time, don't have money, I'm not skinny enough, I'm not good enough, I'm too busy, I'm barely keeping my head above water. And it was like when I went on that journey, when I went on that search for my soul and said, you do not have a right to exist without me. I deserve to have my essence follow me on this journey. I will not let this ship be steered by, I am going to become the woman that I dreamt of as a little girl. I don't care how I do it. I don't care how this is hard. Being low and being empty is hard. So if chasing my smile is hard, then I'm exchanging hard for hard. And what I found is once I started listening to the first little whisper, then I heard another and another, and
Yeah.
to the point where you're like, slow down, I can't write
Yeah, I
this
can't
down,
keep
you know.
yeah.
And I mentioned in another interview that we need a little uh, soul vault, a little vault. I don't care if you actually have a treasure box, if you do it on the computer, but give reverence and respect to those voices and say, I hear you, and I maybe right this moment is not the right time, but I hear you, I know that you're there, I know that you're here for me, and I'm going to hold on to you so that when I feel like there's room for you, I'm going to plant that seed and let it grow, even if you don't feel like you can take action in this moment. And sometimes we have to be careful because that may just be a limiting belief.
Yeah.
At least say to the voice, thank you for choosing me. I don't feel capable of it right now, but I appreciate you. I hear you. And we're going to try this again. So at least that voice knows that you're open to receiving that
Yeah.
spirit
What
coming
I
through
find
you.
too, though, when you're open to receiving and when you take on something new, God is going to send you people that's going to help you make your dream a reality. It's been amazing the people that I've met on this journey that are just as passionate as I am, and they want to help. And so when you're open, that means you're open to, people too. You have to, and I've met some people that's not supposed to be on the journey, and that will be revealed to you as well,
Yes.
But definitely there are people that will come around you that are meant to help you move forward in whatever that is you're meant to do.
Yes, and if it sounds crazy, like when you said you reached out to this author and you thought my husband's going to say, like, what are you doing?
Yeah. Well,
We all have that story where we followed that voice and thought, this is crazy.
yeah.
I have that story. We all have that story. But if you act, even when it feels a little bit wild or a little bit out of your comfort zone, the more you feel out of your comfort zone, the more you should use that as a signal that you are doing it right.
Yes, yes, yes.
Yes. I love it. I love everything about you. I love everything about the books you're writing and what you're putting out into the world and into our children. I respect you a whole lot. And
Oh, thank you.
I'm
Same
honored that
here.
you took the time to be with us and everybody I'm going to put this out to because I think that you're just a light in this world.
Oh, well, thank you. You are too.
Thank you. And I think that there's this, I don't know, but there's a Niki Spears, Linda Krause Barnett, sometime in the future.
Oh,
I can
hey, I
feel
got
it.
some
So
ideas.
I
Talking
do
to
too.
you, I have a lot of ideas, so we will definitely be in touch.
Yeah, so stay tuned. Well, thank you, Rebooters, for watching. Niki Spears, thank you so much for your presence. I hope that everybody found the value and excitement that I did in this conversation. All of Niki's contact information will be provided to you, how to reach her, how to get her books, how to be part of all things Niki Spears, because once we watch you, we kind of can't get enough. So thank you all
Thank
for
you.
watching, and we will see you very soon.